حي على الفلاح.
The Muslims were able to open Damascus. Now the orders come. Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, open Damascus and then head towards Jordan. So when the army of the Muslims headed towards Jordan and they reached to the outskirts of that area, which is called Fihal, there was a Roman army in that area which was estimated to be around 100,000. And they had fortified themselves inside the fortresses. And what they had did, because that area is an open plain, meaning that there's no mountains, there's no hills, there's no trees, there's nothing around it, it's open, which makes it a very good battlefield. So the Romans, what they had did, they opened up from the river of Tabariyya, they opened up streams towards the fortress to make the ground around the fortress, to make it muddy, so that the horses and the cavalry of the Muslimin can't come close or can't come near the fortress itself. And they remained in the fortress. So the Muslimin, they surrounded the fortress, and the Muslimin are waiting and they are sitting. They're not able to enter, and they're waiting for the army of Abu Ubaidah to finish from Damascus and to join them in surrounding that area. So there was over 100,000 of them waiting inside the fortress in Jordan, in Al-Urdun. And the Muslimin are waiting outside. After the opening of Damascus, Abu Ubaidah Jarrah, Khalid Walid, they come towards Jordan to join the Muslim armies. Abu Ubaidah Jarrah, he appoints as leader of that army Shurahbil ibn Hasana, who was from that area. And Shurahbil ibn Hasana, he had allocated his armies around the fortress, and he made sure that there was 24-hour rotation, meaning that there was no time in which the Muslim armies could be taken by surprise. And because they are inside the fortress and they have 100,000 men, or in the army there's 100,000, then add on to that the residents of that area, to be able to survive a long period of time, you need food, you need water, you need the normal day-to-day life matters. And because they are sieged, they can only go for so long. So one of the nights, as the historians they mention, the general of the army of the Romans said that we need to go out and face the Muslimin, but we'll go out and we'll try to take them by surprise in the darkness of the night. Not knowing that Shurahbil ibn Hasana radiallahu anhu had a 24/7 rotation in which they were always ready. And Shurahbil ibn Hasana, it was mentioned that he only used to sleep a few hours. So the Romans thought that they could come out in the darkness of the night and take the Muslimin by surprise. So they clashed with the Muslimin, with the army of the Muslimin, and the battle went on from that morning until the night and continued till the next day. And the Muslimin were able, by the barakah and the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through their patience and through their connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the constant dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Umar radiallahu anhu used to always send to the generals of the armies to make sure that the army themselves are continuously doing dhikr, especially on the battlefield. So as the Roman army attacked, not knowing that the Muslim army was going to be ready, they went into sort of a disorder, and the Muslimin were able to defeat the army of the Romans, and they were able to continue their march and to open the fortress in Jordan. And Shurahbil radiallahu anhu, he continued the openings in Jordan until he was able to free all of the lands in Jordan. After that had continued, Shurahbil bin Hasana, he stayed in Jordan, overwatching the matters in Jordan. Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu was sent towards Palestine, and Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah, Khalid Walid, they marched north towards Hims. So the army was directed in three ways. Shurahbil remained in Jordan, Amr ibn al-As was sent towards Palestine, was sent towards Palestine. And the leader of the armies, Abu Ubaidah and Khalid Walid, they marched towards Hims. And when they reached an area called Marj al-Rum, a very large battle took place between the Muslimin and between the Romans, until it was said that the bodies were covering all of the area. And what the Roman army had did, when they came face to face, because the Roman army was marching towards Damascus, when they came face to face and the army or the battle was taking place, they sent a group around the army to march towards Damascus. Who had noticed this? Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah radiallahu anhu. As soon as he saw this, he sent Khalid Walid to follow them. The news had reached to Damascus that the army or a group was coming towards Damascus. So Yazid ibn Abi Sufyan, who was left in charge of Damascus, he went out and he was able to stop that march that was going towards Damascus and to fight them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was able to, or gave them the victory over this army that was going towards Damascus. So as they're marching, Khalid Walid and Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah towards Tabariyah, they besieged Baysan. They came out and a great fight had taken place, and then they made a treaty, the same treaty as they made with the people of Damascus, and the jizya was placed upon them, and the kharaj from their lands was also placed upon them, and the same thing happened with the people of Tabariyah. And then the Muslimin reached to Hims in the 15th year of Hijrah. Abu Ubaidah, he continued his march towards the defeated Romans who escaped towards Hims. And he went down to the area of Hims, he surrounded it, and Khalid Walid radiallahu anhu, he followed him. And the siege took place in the time of winter also. And the Romans were hoping also that the Muslimin would flee, the Muslimin would leave. But the Muslimin were patient. Their dress code was the same, and it didn't harm them one bit. And as the surrounding the siege went for long, it is mentioned that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and this is mentioned in the books of history, some of the ulama say it's correct, some of the ulama say it is not, but the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they started to do takbir outside the area of Hims. The ground shook and one of the walls began to crack. They did takbir again, the houses inside of Hims began to shake. When the people of Hims started to see this, they came to the leaders of the area, telling them, we've been besieged for a long amount of time. He's going to fight them, or he's going to make a treaty with them. One of the two. What's going to happen? After this event took place, they said that we'll what? That we'll make a treaty with them, we'll make a deal with them, with the Muslimin. They got nowhere to run. The Muslimin have surrounded them. The track record of going out and facing the Muslimin after a siege isn't the best. So they said, we'll make a treaty with the Muslimin. And they came out, they made a treaty with the Muslimin, the same treaty that was made with the people of Damascus. The treaty that was made was given to the leader of the army at that time, and then the approval would come from Amir al-Mu'mineen, who at that time was Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. So the treaty was made in which the jizya will be paid, the kharaj on the land will be paid. The difference between jizya and kharaj is what? Jizya is paid to the working man. He has a certain amount of money that he makes, he pays jizya. Al-kharaj is with the person who has land. He pays a certain amount which is agreed upon, or a percentage agreed upon from the produce that comes out. And the agreement was made, and the Muslimin had left in Hims, and Abu Ubaidah radiallahu anhu, he kept some of the Sahaba in Hims, Bilal ibn Rabah radiallahu anhu, Al-Miqdad ibn Amr, and he wrote to Umar informing him of the victory that was given, and informing him or sending to him al-Khumus, which is 1/5 of the booty of war. And then he sent to Umar that the leader of the Romans in Constantinople, he had cut off the water from an area which is called Al-Jazira, which is towards the northern areas of Ash-Sham, an area which is called Al-Jazira. So Umar radiallahu anhu, he said to Abu Ubaidah, stop your marching forward, come back and protect and preserve the surrounding area or the area around that you have opened. And this is something that the Muslimin, they learned from previous battles, especially from Iraq. They would open an area and then they would go into deep. The areas behind will go back to the way they were before the Muslimin. So the Muslimin now, whenever they entered into an area, they make sure that they left a large amount of army there, and they left someone in charge to make sure that it doesn't go back to the way it was before the entering of the Muslimin. What is left is Palestine. Amr ibn al-As radiyallahu anhu, this great companion, he headed towards Palestine, Jerusalem, or what is known as Iliya. And at the time the Muslims' army, as we know, were under the leadership of Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, under the order of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. He had split up the armies into 4 fronts. One front was in Damascus and the surroundings of it, which was under the leadership of Yazid ibn Abi Sufyan, the brother of Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan radiyallahu anhuma. Palestine and the areas south were under the leadership of Amr ibn al-As, meaning he was the one who was in charge of the armies heading towards Palestine. Jordan and the areas around Jordan at that time were under the leadership of Shurahbil ibn Hasanah. And Hims, yani towards the north of Syria, Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah radiyallahu anhu, he himself took that army towards the north. And he had taken with him Khalid ibn al-Walid radiyallahu anhu. And because the areas towards the north were not open yet, and that was the closest areas to Constantinople at that time, to the Byzantine Empire at that time, in which the center of it was al-Qustantiniya. After Amr ibn al-As radiyallahu anhu, under the orders of Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, headed towards Jerusalem, headed towards Palestine. After he opened a city called Rafah, which is a known city till our day today, he surrounded and besieged Jerusalem, Al-Quds, or what is known at that time as Iliya.